Hey everybody, Stetson and Kyle back again to do another Force Pack review for Star Wars The Card Game. This is the first pack in the
Alliances
cycle. So, Allies of Necessity. We're seeing lots of Rogue One stuff in this pack, so let's get started. So, one of the other cool things about this pack is it's introducing new affiliation cards. So, we're going to go through those real quick for each side, light and dark. So we got two Sith ones, there's Galactic Enforcers and Expendable Allies. So all of these cards typically revolve around one of three things. You either get 2 resources and you have to put 5 and 5 in. You either get 1 resource and 7 reserve and you put 6 and 6 in. Or you put 5 and 5 and you get to remove a focus at the beginning of each of your refresh phases, or is it refresh?
Yep.
Okay, so these two are the former two. So Expendable Allies wants you to do Sith and Scum and Villainy, and you have to have exactly 5 Scum and Villainy or neutrals, and you get 2 resources. What do you think about that one?
I think it's going to be pretty solid. I mean, Sith splashing Scum and Villainy placed really well at Worlds this year.
Mm-hmm.
The winning deck was playing Bane Malar,
Okay.
who lets you just hunt down people committed to the Force.
Sweet. That sounds
which
fun.
is really nice. So just adding in a couple more, you could go a little all in on Jabba. You could add Boba Fett and Slave One for more capture shenanigans. There's a lot of room to experiment there, and there's definitely space in the deck.
I wonder if these are going to pull out more neutral objectives than we used to see. Like that, because you need to backfill and you may not want to put like junk heavy resource costs, Scum or Villainy objectives, but that's interesting. How about Galactic Enforcers, which lets you have a reserve 7? So starting reserve 7 is kind of cool in my opinion because you have extra cards that commit to the Force.
Yeah. So this is one of the ideas that I think is going to get better as this cycle progresses. Right now, pretty much the defining features to run Imperial Navy deck lists are the Tarkin Doctrine and Technological Terror for the Death Star, which are Imp Navy faction only.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I don't think, there are a lot of good pods that are not faction specific, but a lot of the pods that really help the Imperial Navy deck sing, especially get over those resource hurdles that they have, are Imp Navy only. So it's going to take a little bit before this ID shines, but I'm pretty sure by alliances it'll definitely be one of the contenders.
Yeah, and I wonder if this might start the beginning of like a kind of a true Sith Imp Navy, like the Black Squadron kind of combo deck maybe. There's not a lot of... But like having the ability to have 6 of each makes it so you might be able to like double focus. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm thinking about, but that is a lot of more cards you get for not losing the game. If you're, I don't know if there's any like heavy mill decks or anything like that in this game, but you do get more cards. So
you could build an Inquisitor list that's kind of heavy mill.
Okay.
And it looks like they're, as we'll see later on, it looks like they're trying to really push it for smugglers and spies.
Okay.
Because if you remember from our last pod review,
I was excited about that actually. I want to talk about that in that pod because I think that's going to be a really cool deck archetype. So let's move to Imp Navy and Imperial Imp Navy and Imperial Navy. These are the 2 affiliation cards for these guys.
Yep. Dark Masters and by any methods necessary.
So you kind of got a similar thing here with the 2 resources, but any methods necessary. So 5 and 5 and 6 reserve for an extra resource to play with. Imp Navy is the first one, or Dark Masters is the first one we see that does the after you refresh, remove a focus. So that one's going to be Imperial Navy and Sith. So what are you thinking?
So I really like the effect on Dark Masters. It's basically pseudo-elite when you commit someone to the Force who just doesn't have it, or you've lost the objectives that's giving all your capital ships elite, so you can at least try to put up a fight in the Force struggle. Dark Masters admittedly is splashing with Sith, so you're going to have the big Force bruisers anyways, so it might not be as good in this particular one, but we're going to see one in Scum and Villainy that was spoiled a little early that works really well.
Yeah,
actually.
And again, this is one I wonder, like, maybe you could build some kind of, like, Trooper Sith synergy thing, where, because you can use, like, Dark Troopers or something that has to deal with, like, focusing on Force and doing things like that, but yeah, I can definitely see that being very tentative. Again, that ability, though, is pretty slick, like...
Yeah. The one I was thinking about doing with it isn't... You don't get all the super powerful cards from it, but you could do like a Sith spawn trooper list because now they both have the put into play abilities.
That would be so fun. Oh man, I like Sith spawn. Sith spawn's one of the decks I built today. So this affiliation card, I'm not 100% convinced is like useful and mostly because of the reasons you were saying a second ago or earlier, which was like, technological terror is a thing in Imperial Navy, and you really don't want to have to splash 5 to get an extra resource on your affiliation card, and you don't really necessarily need to.
Yeah, I mean, Scum and Villainy is relatively famous for our masterful manipulations and the spice must flow for being able to cheat out 2 resource objectives that clear themselves immediately, so they get a lot of immediate acceleration. And this feels like it's kind of trying to do the same thing, but without access to those 2 objective pods, which I believe, which are Scum and Villainy only.
You're kind of not getting the benefit.
Yeah,
I wonder if that would have worked. I wonder if you could have focused on like something else for another one of your like impods instead of having to push the resource heavy ones. But
I mean, with this, all you really get to continue that acceleration trend is technological terror.
Yeah. Okay. So the last is going to be the Scum and Villainy affiliation cards here. So we got 2 of these as well. As you'll see, there's a pattern. So this one is kind of I like these 2, the combination of these 2 the most, I think, because I'm a fan of these 2 effects the most, I believe, where you get 6 and 6 with 7 reserve. I love just having more cards to commit to the 4 or to edge battle with and things like that. And drawing up to 7 means you're in a better spot than your opponent because you're drawing an extra card. And then, refreshing. So
unless they're playing that one Smugglers and Spies pod that says, if your opponent has more cards in hand than you, everything gets blast damage.
Yeah, that would be bad. But I mean, we've seen this isn't going to be that new. I mean, once we go through all of these, you're going to start seeing the same thing over and over again. But I think this one sounds fun to me.
Yeah, Promise of Power was actually spoiled on the FFG site by the World's winner, and he built
that's right.
deck using IG-88 and Rogue Archaeology, which we're going to get into in a little bit here, to do some pretty impressive things.
Okay, cool. And then the other one, Imperial Contractors, is the opposite of expendable. Oh no, sorry, not expendable allies. That was the opposite. This one is the opposite of the. Is there one?
Yep.
There's okay. It's any methods necessary. So, but it gives you the 7 reserve with 6 and 6. So again, more cards in your deck. Maybe you get a few more options from being able to throw 2 more pods in there. But I guess we'll see after the cycle starts going.
Trooper Bounty Hunters might be a good thing because you can get Jabba for the Bounty Hunter cost reduction.
Yeah. That's true. That could be cool, actually. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the card Stetson was just mentioning is Rogue Archaeology. So Rogue Archaeology is kind of cool because it is one of the characters from the comics. So one of the cool things I've been noticing is that in this game and Destiny, they're starting to pull in things from the comic universe. So if you're not following that, actually it's pretty fun. The Star Wars comics, the main line, not all the one-offs. But
I'm waiting for the character in the background to be printed of this one.
Yeah,
that's
right?
000.
Yeah, 000 and what was a BT something?
BT1.
BT1. Yeah, they're in Imperial Assault, which is kind of cool. And so when you're playing like Edge of the Empire or whatever, you can use them as characters too in there. But yeah, so this one says it's a 1 resource 5 capacity objective. After you play a non-Sith card, place 1 shield on target objective, limit once per turn. That's pretty helpful.
Yep.
I mean, you can keep this one alive at the very least, just keep it for a long, annoying time.
Oh yeah.
And then let's get into the cards in the pod. So the card, I guess we'll call it the staple or the title card. I don't know. Is Dr. Afreya. Pretty crazy unit. So. Yep. 4 costs, 2 edge icons. She's got blast and a tactics and force enabled blast. She's got a unit and tactics and force enabled unit and blast character, of course. And Scum and Villainy resources provide a resource match for this card, which is kind of sweet for the last.
It's also the first time we've seen an ability like this printed. I'm expecting we'll see more throughout the set.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping so too. Especially with the stuff they did from the last cycle, because you have so much of influence on all this stuff. It's nice to see it all kind of work together.
Yep.
During an engagement, focus this unit with 2 focus icons to put a droid from any discard pile into play as participating on your side. That unit is still played in the engagement, place it on the bottom of the owner's deck. That recycle mechanism is legit, especially if you have something like. I think this is the argument for maybe like a reserve cost increase, but getting to that card might be hard, but you could probably do it.
Yeah.
Or just being able to shuffle your deck would be great.
Well, not just that. This pod was spoiled on FFG's website, and what the World's winner did was combine a pod that included IG-8 and another Scum and Villainy pod that lets you sacrifice a droid, so he could recycle his droids just back to his discard pile, so he could always pull super powerful droids. Plus the Scum and Villainy faction that let him remove the second focus token from Dr. Afra, so he could trigger her every turn.
Oh, that's cool.
Get it online, and it sounds terrifying.
All right, Dr. Afra is there. She's a pretty solid card in that. So you're going to run probably 2 of Rogue Archaeology in that one, right?
Yep.
Next one is BX Series Droid Commando. It's a 1-cost, 1 edge icon unit and edge-enabled blast damage. It's a droid, so it kind of fuels the fire there a little bit. During engagement, play this unit from your hand as a participating unit on your side. So play from this unit from your hand means you pay for it, right?
Yes.
Okay, not put into play. So you can get a droid during the middle of the engagement, which is ambushing is always cool. I am a fan of it.
Yeah, and you can play it after they've exhausted all of their guys, so they don't get the unopposed bonus anymore.
Yeah,
which will be really, really nice in a lot of cases.
So pretty cool play there, just to have a little guy that you can pop out. That's one of in this pod, and probably works well with that deck you built too. So next one's called Secret Information, 2-cost, 1 edge icon enhancement. So just kind of a econ enhancement, right?
Yeah,
so we're just
it's also the first card, Dark Side, that has influence. I expect we'll be saying this a lot.
And that makes sense for her pod. So since her pod is it's all about, just kind of letting you do what you need to do.
Well, I mean, the really nice thing about this one is that it's not limited. So the 7 reserve size ones, if you get more than one of them, it's not clogging up your hand.
That's a good point. So not being limited is huge for an area enhancement resource drop. Yeah. This event, Reconstruction, is a 1-cost, 2 edge enabled event, or 2 edge icon event. As an action, you can return target droid unit from your discard pile to your hand.
Yep.
Okie dokie then. Oh man, there's some pretty cool stuff I can see you doing with this pod, just like cycling stuff around.
Oh yeah, no, and like the sell-off card lets you draw more, so if you just run out of gas, you can just pull the droid out of your discard pile and play it for real, and then it's not bouncing around every turn anymore, but it's still just beating down, hopefully.
Yeah, that's true too, because you always get the opportunity in this game, because this game kind of snowballs, is where you just be able to actually play stuff without having to worry about cheating stuff out. But this is nice for rushing like really early. So that card's kind of cool for like later in the game. Like, oh, you thought you killed IG-88 because now he's coming back for real and he's not going to go away this time. Yeah. And then finally we have a common. I think this is a common fate card in a lot of the pods in this set. But
it's got different artwork for light and dark side, but
and probably different. No, actually, no, it's got the same effect. So, Allies Necessity is a 2-edge icon card. It says you may target 2 participating units you control that do not share an affiliation. If you do, one target unit gains unit and the damage, and the other gains blast damage until the end of the engagement. So, it can be clever. You can probably use that to do some really dirty stuff. So,
I mean, it's definitely an attacking card for the blast damage, but I mean, 2 force pips is nothing to sneeze at either. And worst case scenario, you give somebody a gun.
And it's not edge enabled too, which I like. I mean, not that a lot of them are, but it's kind of nice that you don't have to win the edge to actually be able to get the icons. Yeah. You just like, okay, they have them now, so deal with this.
Yeah. Admittedly, I'm going to harp on this now. The light side gets a better deal because there is at least one unit that says it can deal its blast damage as unit damage.
Oh, wow. Okay. Which is that in the pod in this, one of the pods in this one?
No, it's a rebel fighter.
Oh, okay. So that's the Freya pod, Rogue Archaeology. So that seems like it's pretty cool. I'm liking that. I like some of the Sith pods that aren't just revolving around main Sith characters, because we get a little bit of splash into the experience of like what else is Sith in Star Wars besides just the same ones we see all the time. So is a pod I'm really excited about because I just like the things you can build with it. I like that Imperial Navy is giving itself more stuff to not have to do like
that is not ships.
Yeah. So Immeasurable Power is a 1 resource 5 damage capacity pod. It's Scarif subtype, which is kind of cool and new. And after a trooper you control is destroyed, put a unit named Death Trooper into play from your hand. So you'll see in this pod there's enough of them that you're going to get a significant amount of Death Troopers if you put 2 of these in your deck. So
there's one important thing to mention. We've seen this mechanic before in the Sith spawn list, but there's one thing that's not on this card that's on that card, and this one's not limited.
Oh, that's true. That's pretty sweet.
So if you've got a huge reserve size, a bunch of Death Troopers hanging out, for every trooper that dies, you can get a Death Trooper.
So like your Death Trooper can replace themselves, your other troopers can be replaced by Death Troopers, and as you'll see, Death Troopers are pretty cool. So Director Krennic is obviously in this pod because this is Scarif and it has the word Death Trooper on it. He's unique, so don't try to play more than 1. He's 4 cost, 3 edge icons, and he's got a tactics icon and 2 edge enabled icons, a unit and a tactics. He's a character officer, so if that matters to you, pay attention to that. He's elite, So we get that bonus there of being able to not have to worry about him getting bogged down by doing stuff. He could commit to the Force, I guess, right? That's okay.
Yeah.
After the phase begins, spend one resource to target each unit you control named Death Trooper. Until the end of the phase, each targeted unit gains choose one. Elite, shielding, or edge one. So that's cool.
Yep.
I'm a fan of the shielding. I mean, I'm a fan of the elite on those guys. I don't know.
I think the edge one is going to be the most relevant.
Yeah, I think that
being
one
able
is pretty good
to
too.
win edge battles without a card when you're attacking, it's really nice.
Especially since does this effect happen if you put a Death Trooper into play after you activate it? Because it's like a static effect, so each unit you control named Death Trooper? That's always one of those questions that's hard to answer.
Since it's targeted, if they enter play after this
It
ability
probably doesn't
fires,
work,
it does
yeah.
not.
So yeah,
Timestamps will matter.
so keep that in mind. So if you do like lose one of your edge ones, or if you have them be shielding or something like that, the next one will not be able to do that in the next engagement. But so that's Krennic. He's pretty cool. And then there's 3 Death Troopers in this pod. So I'm only going to show one, but there's 3 of them. So that's kind of awesome. That's a lot of the same card in one pod.
Yep.
I think the only other pod that rivals that is the Espos ones that we were talking about earlier, because Espos Commandos pod is just it's 5 Espos Commandos.
No,
Or troopers,
there's
sorry.
I think the Coruscant fleet has a bunch of Star Destroyers in it that can't attack. I think there are 3 of them in that.
Okay.
It's never played,
So,
but
all right, this is a 3-cost 2-edge icon Death Trooper. He's got a unit damage and a blast damage and a edge-enabled unit damage. He does have the Trooper subtype, so yay! And he's got Protect Krennic, so Krennic's not going to die very easily if he's on the board with any Death Troopers. Especially since they both have 3 damage, which is really good in this game. So
it's one of those barriers. It stops Luke, equip and de-equip Luke from just scything through them very easily.
yeah, which I like a lot, especially since you can do like so much cycling and stuff. And then so Death Trooper's good. They work with the objective. They work with Krennic. This pod's the most synergistic pod I've ever seen in my life. It's almost like if you could play the game with one pod, you could play with this one, and it would be good.
Oh, speaking of synergy,
Yeah, right. And so the final thing we have is assembly area. Sorry, it's a 1 resource location. It enhances your player area. Yet again, not limited. Reduce the cost of the first trooper unit you play each turn by 1. So this is awesome too because you can then make it so you can get your cycle going even faster. Like that's so cool. This is like that pilot one, right? The pilot ready room is like you're just oh man, cool.
only this one's not equipment based. Which is
So if you had 3 of these, you could play Death Trooper for free.
well, I don't think there's been another assembly area printed. So right now you're limited to 2.
So but you can play it for 1.
Your first
Okay.
one would be free if you could get 3 of them to play.
Okay. So yeah, super synergistic pod. I think it fits well in almost any style of trooper deck. I'm excited to see what they do with this named Death Trooper thing. Like, there's only one named Death Trooper right now, but I'm wondering if there's going to be cards that's like treat this card's name as Death Trooper for the purposes of like card effects or something like that. I would really like to see that, but simultaneously, I know it's one of those barriers to entry for people where you're like, why is it this? I don't understand it, blah, blah, blah. But this game already has so much around it, it doesn't matter anyway.
Yep.
So really cool pod, super excited. There's people already building power or building decks with this, and they look really nasty. So
Yeah. Well, I suppose Trooper, as you mentioned, is a thing.
yeah, it's a cool
And
thing.
Callus from the previous cycle does add a lot of power to it, especially if they start printing Trooper equipment.
And you have 501st, which is a solid trooper. There's some really good old Hoth neutral pods that have like snow troopers in them that do some pretty cool stuff with some decent things you can do there. The deck I think I'm going to build with this looks pretty fun, so I'm really excited to try and see how that works. So we're going to move into light side, and so we're going to start again with affiliation cards. So there's going to be 6 of these. They're going to be very similar to what you've seen already, but Jedi is Guardians of Justice and No Questions Asked. This is the 7 reserve one and the 2 resource one. So there you go. You got Jedi and Smugglers, which is kind of a common archetype already.
Yeah.
I mean,
Spark Rebellion is a thing.
yep. And so that's a good one. I think starting reserve 7 might hurt Spark a little, but it depends on what you put in there. So, because you've got more cards to try to mill through before you hit a 2 unit.
Yep.
Maybe put the unit heavy pods in there or something. No Questions Asks, 2 resources for. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Rebellion. That was my bad. Yeah, Jedi and Rebellion. So you're right. And then the other one is the one I said. So Jedi and Spies and Smugglers is the 2 questions, which is cool. I mean, Millennium Falcons are expensive.
Yeah.
Things
I
like
actually
that.
feel that No Questions Asked is the stronger ID right now just because Spark works better right now with smugglers and Jedi. Like, a lot of people are doing a tricolor splash for Hera, but Hera's...
Because the Ghost is crazy. Yeah, okay.
Well, not just the Ghost, the Phantom is ridiculous as well.
Yeah, they're both pretty sweet ships.
That being said, right now the Jedi Rebellion one is the one I think is weaker, just because, yeah, you could take Hera's pod for your first two choices from the Rebellion, and then what is...
I don't know, Cassian's pod might be good. But
Cassian's pod...
I don't know. You're right.
Solid.
There's some stuff in there that you want to kind of worry about, but
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, this kind of complements something that already exists, so it's nice to see something where you're like, oh, watch this get a little better.
yeah.
I do think this kind of makes it so, I don't know. I want to see less decks with Yoda. That's all I want. I want the game to not revolve around Yoda on light side, and these cards, these IDs kind of like, I mean, they have to, but they're kind of like, oh, just play Yoda more. It doesn't matter. You know, fit stuff in, but we'll see. Because some of these other ones are kind of fun too. So, Rebel Alliances, Information Network, and Fighters for Freedom. So, yeah. So again, we have the 2 resource one, and we have the after you refresh, move a focus from target unit. So,
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm of the opinion that these are the weakest IDs to start, just because the big deck in Rebel before now was the Rebel fleet.
which is like mostly Rebel stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's got a Spirit of Solidarity in it, which requires a heavy Rebel commitment. For a while, for funsies, I was playing Brainiac in there just to see if I could pull it off. But
With Brainiac, because Brainiac affects any printed value.
Brainiac says he can't affect objectives.
Okay, so he could affect these.
I don't
Let us
think.
know.
No, I'm pretty sure he explicitly can't.
Okay.
Just because most of the rule text before now was helper text, but that is an interesting question. Like, he couldn't affect the resource values on it, that's for sure.
But maybe like the reserve. But I don't know if it'd matter because you might not get it in the refresh phase anyway. There's like it wouldn't last till then. But anyway, yeah, I think these ones I'm not as impressed about. And maybe you can probably do. Maybe you might be able to do something with like specters with this one with the starting reserve here, so you can actually have your Zeb pod and your
you lose Spark and you lose Ezra, but you have Chopper, Hera.
You have Chopper, Hera, Sabine,
Zeb.
Yeah, and I love Little Mechanical Psychopath. That's one of my favorite pods. Yeah, or yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So the next ones are going to be Spies and Smugglers. The Spies and Smugglers do not have a 2 resource affiliation card, but they have the refresh one, which is great.
Yep.
Desperate Allies is fantastic for the decks that need it.
For Spark, I mean, you can online Kanan even harder.
You can double down on Cassian. Or no, not in that pod. But there's a deck where you can do some weird stuff with Jin and Cassian together that does something really wrecky, but that could maybe be in that one. But yeah, refreshing, removing extra focus, making something elite when it's not elite without having the elite keyword is kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
Again, and then we have Mercenary Contracts, which is your kind of large
Rebels
reserve.
and Smugglers,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. So let's look at pushing back the Empire. This is Cassian Andor's pod. So I'm going to start off with this guy. It's a one resource, 5 damage capacity, Yavin 4 pod, or objective. After you play a Rebel card, reduce the cost of the next non-Rebel card you play this phase by 1. So it really, really wants to be
Paired with someone, yeah.
And so, yeah, it doesn't have influence, which kind of is, it's okay. I think it would probably be really broken with influence because it just like fuels its own fire. Yeah. But
I mean, right now there's 2 in every given pair of light side factions. There's 2 influence objectives if you want to run them.
I think you pair it with an off-site affiliation card, right? The first card out of this pod is Captain Cassian Andor. So he's a 4-cost, 3-edge icon, 2 unit damage, 1 blast, and a edge-enabled tactics. He's a leader, so that's kind of cool for a lot of the Rebel pods like leaders. So getting him back out or doing things like that is going to be really awesome. He's elite, so that's good right off the bat.
Yep.
After this unit is focused to strike, remove 1 focus token from a non-Rebel unit. You limit once per turn. So
unfortunately, as you were saying, you're hoping it doesn't revolve around Yoda. This guy online Yoda
loves
incredibly
him.
well.
Loves him.
Yeah.
This, I mean, seriously though, this is like gonna be one of the best pods for like putting in when you're like, man, what do I do? I have a few Rebels and some other stuff. Like pushing back the Empire is great because it just gives you value for everything you're doing, right?
Yeah. As long as you're not going solo Rebel.
And again, 3 damage, so he's right outside of insta-kill range most of the time. That's sweet.
Actually, the barrier is a little different because the test on this side is Vader.
That's
Because when you
true.
have multiple exhausted units, he gains an additional unit damage, which bumps him up to 3.
That's a good point, but it's still, I mean, most of the time 3 is pretty good still, no matter what, but you're right, Vader can do some serious damage, but
And
that's because he's Vader.
And the trooper you mentioned out of the Tarkin Doctrine will get 3 unit damage as well with targeted strike.
Rebel Saboteur, so it's a 2-cost, 1 edge icon character trooper, so another trooper card, but that's not as important for this side. Unit damage and a conditional blast damage, so edge enable blast. It's got shielding. Shielding is always going to be happy, make you happy. When an opponent triggers an ability on an in-faction card he controls, it's interesting, in-faction, so does that mean for your affiliation?
Yes.
Okay. You spend 1 resource to discard this unit from your hand to cancel that ability. So
yeah, you can stop some pretty nasty things.
that's kind of cool. It kind of becomes an event if it's sitting in your hand as well as a unit. So if there's anything you want to do there, it can be really interesting because you're like, I'll play it. Oh wait, I want to save it because like they have some powerful effects. It really lets you play against the deck type, which you get to see in this game beforehand. Just kind of.
Yeah, like you can buy yourself a turn from Dark Lord of the Sith,
Right.
or the Power of the Dark Side, and really throw off your opponent's math for the following turn.
Yep. So there's 2 of those in this pod, so you get to see 2 of those together. The next card is going to be Teamwork. I'm always a fan of it because it makes the dream work. 1 cost, 1 edge enable, or 1 edge icon. It's a reaction ability. It says after the edge stacks are revealed, you gain +X force icons on your side of the for this edge battle, where X is the number of different affiliations amongst cards you control. So max 3. So that could be cool. I mean,
it does make me sad that there is no faction ID that rewards you for playing all 3, especially on the light side, but that might
there's
be
still people doing it though. I mean, there's still people doing it, and if this pod's in there, then you're gonna get, I guess I don't really know if this card's that economic. I don't know if I like it as much. It just seems like 1 for 3. Like, I guess it's okay. It's not terrible because you get it in addition to your edge stack, which is nice, I guess. So
yeah,
and it is 1 to commit. So yeah, it could be cool. It could be cool. I take it back. So this is the pod with Allies of Necessity in here. I think both of the Rebel pods have Allies of Necessity, or both of the light side pods do, right?
Yep.
This one has a Fire Fate value, and maybe for that reason that you were saying earlier, or something. But it's the same thing. So target 2 participating units. 1 gets that do not share an affiliation, and 1 gets a unit, and 1 gets blast. So
yeah,
it's okay.
Worst case scenario, 2 force peps.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So the last and the final pod is going to be Jyn Orso's pod. So
Spirit of Rebellion.
Spirit of Rebellion. Boom.
Something tells me we're going to be seeing a lot of the Spirit of Rebellion going with the Spark of Rebellion.
Yeah, actually, I think one of the decks I was going to run for in store tramps we have is one that does something like this with Spirit and Spark, and it does Spirit Spark, and it's like a kind of a discard control deck thing. Because again, this card works well with the pods we love from the last section. 1 costs or 1 resource, 5 damage capacity, Scarif. While this objective has 2 or fewer damage on it, it gains reaction after you play a non-Smuggler Spies unit. Your opponent chooses 1 card and discards it from their hand once per turn. So,
and I like this one just because it combos up pretty well with some of the lesser liked Rebels characters, namely Chopper and Ezra, because those are the ones that went really heavy on the discard mechanic.
Yeah, and I think most people are choosing 1. I think most of the time it's Chopper too, but because there's no full machine for like just discard yet, because I don't think it's strong enough by itself. So a lot of people are just subbing in like Spark to make it like a actual like offensive or capable deck. So I do like it though. I like the idea of combining those pods together and making some kind of terrible discard deck for the light side that your opponent just has nothing to do every turn.
Kind of like there's an Inquisitor list that can get really prisony really fast if you don't have any targeted strike in your deck.
Jyn Erso is the first one. It's 4 cost, 3 edge icons, and she's got unit damage, 2 blast damage, and a conditional edge-enabled unit damage. And she's a character spy. She's elite, which is always good. While this unit is attacking, it gains reaction, so 2 reaction abilities while it's attacking. After the first other Jedi unit resolves a strike during this engagement, draw 2 cards. That's cool. I ran, because that means you have 2 extra cards to use in your opponent's turn.
Drawing cards is good, it turns out.
Yeah, pro tip, drawing cards in this game is legit. The next reaction is after the first other Rebel unit resolves a strike during this engagement phase, remove all focus from that unit. It's so cool. I love it so much.
I will play Double Strike for free every day.
Right. I mean, Luke does it to himself. This does it to another unit. You could really hammer something.
So it means they have to strike twice in the combat.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So, like, Luke kind of can do it
Yeah,
if he
Luke
does
has
the right
pseudo,
stuff.
because he
But
can attack and block.
yeah, but like, is it because Luke does it after he deals damage or something? What does Luke do?
No, there's a Luke that does it at the start of your opponent's
Oh, that's okay. So I'm mistaking it. But yeah, double strike's great. Try striking twice. I mean, that's fantastic. So I think Ghost likes this or Phantom likes this. One of those two like this. So Jin and Harris
The
pods
Ghost.
together can be really
heavy
sweet.
blast damage. So the Ghost attacking with Jin unopposed is guaranteed to blow up all but 3 objectives in the game.
That's
and one
sweet.
of those is a mission.
So that's cool. That's a cool combo right there. So I think the decks that are going to play Spirit are probably going to do two Herapods as well, just for the double Ghost and doing.
And the Phantom too, just to protect your pieces.
Yep. So Jin's really cool. She's 3, so it doesn't pass the Vader test, but passes most of the other tests. But we got Crafty Smuggler. That's the next card in the pod. It's a 2-cost, 2-edge unit. It's got can edge enabled blast and unit damage to the character, and after force phase begins, remove 1 focus token from this unit. So ready to defend.
He's actually a really good unit to commit to the force, just because he sheds 3 focus tokens every round. Because once at the start of your turn, once in your force phase, and once in your opponent's force phase.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Put him on the force because he's got 2 icons, which is a lot better than most other kind of gray units you see. So. Necessary allies, which is not to be confused with allies of necessity.
Yeah. But again, it's just secret information for light side.
Yeah.
More influence is always good. So
And
you're
again,
not quite
not limited.
Yeah.
We're seeing a ton of not limited stuff here, so I'm really happy. Two resources. That's probably why.
Yeah.
1 edge icon, and enhance your play area, and it's got influence, so it works with it works.
And as much as I hate to say it, not being tied to the rebels to get your sources of influence is a good thing.
That is true. We have an event here, Well-Laid Ambush. It's a 1-cost, 2-edge icon event. It's a tactics, so if that matters for your deck, which I think it does in some, because there's a bunch of rebel pods that care about tactics events and things like that.
Yep.
During your engagement, a target non-participating enemy character unit can be damaged by unit icons from units you control participating in this engagement. So
it's a light side version of a dark side card that gives pseudo targeted strike. It's really nice.
yeah.
But you're going to kill one particular thing. Or at least you're going to try to.
So that's units you control, though. So you can
every unit in this engagement can attempt to
gets targeted strike against 1 target.
So admittedly, you can't take out a Death Star this way, but
what are you gonna
that's
do?
a challenge.
That's still pretty cool because assassinating Vader or Palpatine or something like that could be really interesting. Where you're just like.
Especially if they've already pitched the other one to an edge battle. They're like, oh yeah, he can't die, he's totally safe.
And then we have our final allies of necessity here. So again, I'm not going to read it again, but it's nice for this pod. If you have 2 of these, you're going to get that. If you run Cassian and Jin, you're going to have a bunch of allies of necessity and a bunch of extra icons. So cool. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed that. We're excited for Store Champ season kind of coming up or going through or happening.
First one in Colorado is next week.
And that's it.
Collector Mania.
So come down next week to play here. We have sign-ups too, so call the shop beforehand and let us know. I think we have room for 32, or you said 32 people? Okay, so it's normal size kind of Store Champ. Become a Collector Maniac, come play with us on Tuesdays and Saturdays or whatever you guys want to do. We have a group for it, so if you want to come play, let people know. But yeah, have fun, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Hopefully this is more frequent now that we have, packs coming out again.
More product.
Cool. Bye.